Hello, my friends. I'm Dick Hellman, back with you again with another of our Washington Bites. As you know, I had CPAC, the Christian lobby for Israel, on Capitol Hill and throughout America, and I had Merkel, the think tank that supports CPAC. Today I want to talk to you about the 1,000-pound gorilla, or perhaps the 1,000-pound zombie in the room, Iran. Everyone is looking at Syria and what Russia and America are doing or not doing to rein in Syria's chemical weapons, and hopefully before long to bring an end to that horrific war. But I have to tell you some inside Washington information. And it came from, among other sources, a highly placed Israeli military leader whom I heard and whom I expected to talk about Syria. But instead he said it's all about Iran. Now, we're not talking about Iran, the historic nation of Persia, or about the Iranian people who are fine and given some opportunity would change this horrific government that they have. We're talking straightly to you about the regime in Tehran. Now, they elected a new president who looks nicer and speaks more nicely than his predecessor, but in his heart, he's no different from his predecessor, and in fact, he's not any more in charge than his predecessor. Who's in charge? The Supreme Council of the Ayatollahs, the successors to the Ayatollah Khomeini, who overthrew the Shah of Iran and brought not democracy and freedom to Iran, but a theocracy, a radical Islamist regime to Iran, which has considered itself to be at war with America, that they call the Great Satan, even to a greater extent than Israel, whom they call the Little Satan, and whom they flat out want to eliminate. And they have stated that genocidal intent. So what should we do about Iran? CPAC, with Merkel's help, has an unique approach to this. Yes, we believe that stronger sanctions, even so-called crippling sanctions, are a good idea and necessary, but they are not sufficient. As we have seen, they have not deterred the Iranian regime from continuing and in fact accelerating its approach, its development of nuclear weapons. And every sane diplomat or honest technical expert says, of course they're developing nuclear weapons. All the signs are there. Now, what do we do about that? Yes, as I said, sanctions and even crippling sanctions are necessary, but we have to eliminate the exceptions. To be nice diplomatically, the State Department, the White House have given exceptions, have given passes to some nations around the world, which otherwise would not be able to deal with us if they continued to buy, let's say, buy Iranian oil or deal with Iranian banks, etc. Without going into the weeds, into the details of that, we have to stop the exceptions from the sanctions. But even that will not be enough. And yes, we have to keep the credible threat of force on the table. Now, I sit here today and speak to you to tell you that Israel is ready, willing, and if need be, able to take out the Iranian nuclear weapons. Don't let anyone tell you that it has to be America, but it should be America. We in the community of nations should take care of this. But Israel, being realistic and practical, will do the job if they're forced to do it. Trust me, Prime Minister Netanyahu, all of his cabinet, all Israelis would rather that diplomacy and sanctions would work. But if they don't, Israel will do it. And we must be ready to say, it's sad that Israel had to do that, but thank God they did it, and shame on us that we didn't do it, if that comes to that. I just felt impressed that I have to say that to you today. So think about these things. Go to our website where we have at www.cpaconline.org, as you'll see at the end of this bite. We have a legislative measure there called the GAP Act, the Genocide Abatement and Prevention Act, which calls for the prosecution of the Iranian leaders for their incitement to genocide against Israel, which is an international crime as surely as the incitement to the Holocaust was or should have been a crime in the days of Hitler and the Nazis. So go there, take your legislative action, and if by all means you're able, send us the most generous contribution you can to Merkel, the Middle East Research Center Limited, for a tax deduction, and we will build up our war chest to do our part in this war to help save Israel and to help save American security, because trust me, we're in the bullseye too. It's just a matter of months or years after Israel's at threat that we too will be at threat if we are not already. So take your action legislatively at cpaconline.org and go to Merkel and make the biggest tax-deductible contribution you can, and we will get the job done here in Washington and throughout the grassroots of America. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again soon. God bless you all.